Alright guys, welcome back. So, quick update. I got the shop press, the 12-ton press, all assembled and set up. Had to make a few modifications to it. This bar in between, this brace, I had to cut between it because the gears are too wide for it to be able to slip through. And I wasn't going to be able to set it up on here. I bought a 2-inch by 36-inch 3/16 steel, and I cut it into 4 pieces to make a box. And I had this piece 22 gauge steel, and I had this second piece I was gonna also cut like this, but I decided to try it like this first, see if it works. And this one's cut into has a 4-inch hole cut into it, and then I cut it in half so I can slide it on underneath the gear so it's perfectly seated all the way around it. And I'm hoping it's sturdy enough to hold this well. And I put a little sacrificial like metal in between the press and the output shaft. The only issue is underneath, you can kind of see I don't have a lot of room to work with. So what I'm guessing is either shorten this, so no, the light's blinding me. So either cut this short or raise this up a little bit more. So I remove this center bar and then screw these bolts on here, which is what frames it together. But then I cut holes in this 3/8, it's like 3/8 inch bar. It's like 2 inches by 21 inches. And then I boxed out the bottom of this. It's pretty sturdy, it's nice and strong. I don't anticipate this flexing in any way, hopefully not at least. But if it needs to be, I could put something underneath this to raise it up a little bit higher. Or if I can get about the length between these 2 holes, if I can make that distance work here, I can just move this up as I'm going along. That's how much I'm gonna have to press off. So either one of those options should work. So I'm just trying to figure out which one would be the best bet. Most likely just lift this up a little bit higher, that way I don't have to worry about cutting this straight, because if I cut it crooked it might mess up the press whenever I'm trying to use it, so I don't want to do that. Alright, so I had to do a quick last minute change to the setup. So the 2 3/16 plates that I was using, they were flexing a lot, and the way I had it set up as a box, it wasn't working right. It was flexing down this side and this side, so I placed both on each side, but since they weren't one whole piece together, it was bending both of them separately at like different ways. Decided that wasn't gonna work very well, so I went ahead, just went back to the store and decided just to get the 3/8 thick, so it's one whole solid piece. I ended up just cutting it in half instead of cutting it into 4 separate 9-inch pieces, so that way I can throw it on here. And then I used these 2 pieces for the 3/16 inch flat bar, and then placed them here and here. And I placed them just slightly far back so it's not contacting the Synchro hub. And then that's just to provide a little bit more support here and here. So that way it's essentially boxed out. So it's not just 2 contact points, it's 4. And then this plate right here, as thin as it is, it provides a little bit more equal distribution of force across it, so you don't accidentally put too much pressure on the teeth and potentially damage it. As of right now, still don't have that much clearance underneath, but I can still keep cranking it a little bit more and more just to make sure this is slowly working its way up. Once I have a little bit more room, I'll be able to slide this in more and then potentially raise this up 1 more peg so I can get more room underneath. I think the way I have it now, I should be able to find something to put underneath it. Yeah. So I think that's what I'm gonna go try and do real quick. While there's still tension on this and everything's still nice and tight, find some way to lift this up a couple inches so I can get a little bit more room underneath it, and then go from there. I'm gonna go ahead and take this towel, place it back underneath here. Oh, bingo. Just the right amount of height. Just barely ran out. With my and janky amount of little legs I made. So I have this bar, the plates, another plate I had. I have my torque wrench case, and then the radiator supports. And that was enough height to be able to fully get this off, just as I was about to have to raise up a little bit more, it finally gave way. So this all is finally loose. It took that much trouble to get this off. So this is loose, this come off. This bearing, I'm gonna go ahead, lift this back up, and then lift this up, and hopefully all of this is nice and loose, and I should be able to go ahead and pull it off. I'll go ahead, grab a hold of this, move these out of the way. Not the tension to leave on them. That. Oh, that fell right back down. Move these out of the way. Lift this up. And then move it to your bench. Alright, so not the best lighting, but hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. So I got the apple shaft here, and I have this set up. I was about to light down, but it's not sitting properly because of the gear being off. So just to be safe, I'm gonna take off 6 trimming gear, slide it up and off, and I'm gonna set it right down, just the way it came off. Then you're gonna take off this bearing and pull it up and over, set that down. Now you're gonna take second gear, grab a hold of second gear, you're gonna lift it up, and there's gonna be some bearings and stuff underneath it. I'm actually gonna go ahead and probably remove those afterwards. Or if I can reach in here and grab them. No, I can't do it. Alright, lift this up and over. Try not to drop the apple shaft. Set it down. Alright, now you have these needle bearings underneath there that you're gonna have to also remove. You go ahead and inspect those. Those all look good. Take them up. This is a solid 2-piece one. You go ahead and set it inside right there of second gear. From there, you should have your blocker rings. Go ahead, grab all 3, up and over, set them down. Move these over a little bit. After that, release the tension on third gear. There you go. And that's free. And then from here, there's a split washer on here. Alright, so on this part, so the split washer, you can see right there where the split is. There is a sleeve around it that you're gonna have to pry off to get on there. So what I did is I took this razor blade and I fed it behind it as straight as I could. And as soon as I had it on there straight, I kind of just pried back a little bit, working my way around. So I got it off a good amount of bit. So once you have it this far on the gap right there, so take this little needle tool and just kind of just wedge it in there and just pry as best you can. And then get stuck. If you get it to this point where you can spin it, you can easily take it off, just like that. All right, let's set it up right here. So lift this up again. Set you down right there. So take this little ring, slide it up and over, and I'm putting inside the blocker rings. And the split washer, now you should be able to just wedge it, maybe. I have a little tension on it. So I got this side a little bit loose. Should be able to work this one out. So, alright, so I got that side off. Go ahead, set it down. So this one might be a little trickier. That's a little pry tool I'm going to be using. Smacks, comes right off. You shouldn't have to hit it too hard, just enough to have it break loose. Grab that and set it right down. Right in there. Alright, so next bit You're gonna have to remove the Synchro hub, which I can almost guarantee this is also press fit on there. You're gonna remove the sleeve and then the little keys for the Synchro, and then the hub's still gonna be on there. And I can almost guarantee this hub is press fit on there. So be careful here as we're pulling this up. These keys are gonna come right out. So take this off. Then we put the keys in there, up and over, and set it right down. There. Move all this stuff out of the way. Should have gone with a bigger table, but decisions were made. Can't really go back on them. It is what it is. So for now, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it like this. Take these keys, put them right there, and such. So, like I said, I'm just gonna go ahead and remove the third and fourth Synchro first, and then remove third gear, and then put this on the press so I can take off this hub using second gear as a support or a base to pull it off of. So starting from the bottom, you're gonna have this thrust washer right here on the bottom. You're gonna just easily pry that off, like so. And yeah, like that. So with this, I'm gonna set it down as if we're coming off facing upward. So this, the part that faces upward, like that. It should set this inside. Next step, you're gonna have this snap ring right here. Take it right off and then set it down. So next step, I'm gonna take my custom Synchro hub puller tool thing I made. I'm gonna set it in here. Actually, this might not fit. This is a different size. This isn't gonna work. At least not enough. Not from this side at least. I might be able to still get it in there and be able to get it slightly off. But probably not enough. But we'll give it a try. So I tried making this whole contraption work, but it ended up working. Well, I mean, I imagine it would have worked, but the issue I was having is because I had these made and I didn't have one for this size Synchro hub. That was gonna take way too long to have to cut it, shape it, test fit it, and go back and forth just to see if it worked. So instead, what I'm doing is kind of what it showed on there that it wants you to do, is to get a set of pullers, put it underneath second gear, and then put it on the press and press it out. But I didn't have a puller that was big enough to go around it, so what I ended up doing is I had another one of these kind of like little shim plates, kind of like this, that I had. I would recommend making something like this as opposed to this. This was the plate I was trying to use with the 3-jaw puller, where I have the hooks go through it, and this was just a leftover plate from this one where I made the plate for the smaller Synchro hub. It was cut out from here, that's why it has like a weird shape. And then the width, it's actually kind of wide, but a lot less than that one. So this worked, and the way I set it up, because it has that cutout on it, is I had this kind of in a triangular shape. So I had that set up that way, this right here, and I had these two 3/16 bar like that, and then I lined it all up, make sure everything was nice and straight, ready to go. And then went ahead, put the press. So I ended up cutting this portion of the press just to give myself extra length to use. And then went ahead, put in the press, pressed it down. It came out really easily. It actually took a lot less work than first gear off. It was nowhere near as difficult as that one, so that was good. So now I have this is off, and the blocker rings will come off. Then second gear doesn't really have that big of a thing. It should just be able to slide off. Let me go ahead, set this camera down. Again, make sure you keep everything nice and organized as you're going through. So in my case, I'm going to be putting it on the inside here. So I'm gonna make sure this is the right way it's gonna come out. And then these Synchro rings, I'm just gonna put right here, just so they're out of the way, and kind of So I would say I would recommend using the bigger 6-foot table. I went with the 4-foot table because I didn't think I was gonna need that much room. But in the end, I ended up running out of space really fast. But it is what it is. I can still make it work. So this is from the bottom. So we're gonna lift this up. Pull this Synchro up and over. Nice and calmly. Just the way it came out. So I'm gonna set this down real quick. And that's coming out already. Whoops, got you there. I'm gonna take this. Take these keys, set them out, and then you're gonna make sure you align it. So these, where the cutouts, where the keys are, on the Synchro the outer portion of the Synchro, you're gonna see those 3 grooves. That's where the keys rest. So this is gonna go where that is. So you're going to want to align it up, and it should just drop right in like that. Then you're gonna take your keys, and then you push them in, and that ball should slide over. There we go. And then it should just click right in. Alright, so next thing, you got your blocker rings for second gear. So there's going to be 3. It's going to be this outer layer, and you have this padded portion underneath it, and then another layer under that. So you want to grab all 3 of them and just take them all off at once. In my case, I'm not too worried about these because I'm going to be replacing them, so orientation isn't as big of an issue. And then we'll sit around right here. Alright, so from here we got second gear. So this should just come up and over, but as you're lifting up, you're going to notice there's going to be needle bearings underneath, so if you can also reach in there, grab those needle bearings. So now I'm going to slide this slide the gear down, back on the needle bearings. Grab those needle bearings, and then slowly slide it all up as one whole assembly. Set this back down, like so. Now you got second gear right here. Set it down. Got these needle bearings on the inside. So these needle bearings for second gear, you can see it's actually split. So it's not actually a complete all the way around. So you got your needle bearings, and then you have this little plastic spacer on top of it that goes right there. Make sure you try to keep your rotation as best as possible. Next step, we're gonna put the output shaft upside down in the press, and we're gonna press out third gear along with the Synchro hub, and this should all come out as one assembly. So I'm gonna test fit to see if that little flat bar piece that I cut out fits perfectly on there. Hopefully it does. So it's close. In this case, I might actually end up going just with the bearing pullers. So I have this one fully extended out. So width should be fine. And then that should be good too. So I'm gonna take your bearing puller, loosen 2 sides, the nuts. You're gonna slide it out. Place it in there. Rotate this around. Slide it back in. This I'm going to try to keep a little loose. Tighten it a little bit. Screws in there. This one I got the feet. There we go. Alright, so holding the puller, lift this up. So what I'm going to end up doing is I want this to be as flat as possible on the gear. So I might end up having to unscrew a little bit more than it's willing to let me. But let's see how much room it lets me have. So I don't want to put it on this little rise right here because it's not as much surface area as opposed to if I were to have it on here. So let's loosen this up a little bit more. I'm not too worried about this not putting fully tight on there. That's on there like that. And go around, tighten these so it doesn't have the most surface area that I would prefer, but at least it's nice and flat against the gear face, and I'll have the most surface area to work with. And this should be very easy to be able to just go ahead and throw in the press and go from there. But I like to have a towel underneath, so that way you can make sure you don't accidentally drop it, because that would be bad. Get your grip, put this up, and just go ahead and put it underneath. So for this part I didn't show it, but you do have to remove that split washer over here. So I did that earlier before. So you remove this retaining ring around the snap ring, then you're gonna take that off before you end up putting on the press. Now this part you want to be nice and slow. You want to make sure that nothing is flexing, nothing's gonna give way, and keep a close eye on everything. Get a grip on your output shaft, and then slowly. And you can see it giving way now, like so. And then right there, and it gave way. Okay, so the TR6060, so for the input shaft and for the counter shaft over there, to remove them, you're gonna use one of these bearing pullers. So I have this one set up right here right now, and these bars actually are not long enough. This one's probably has one thread on, this one has one thread on, that one has one thread on. This doesn't have enough for that nut to engage. So my big worry right now is this not holding together when it's in the press. So if it looks like it's gonna give way and it's just gonna shoot out, I'll probably stop the press or stop cranking down on it. But hopefully this holds well enough to be able to take the bearings off, because after that, it's pretty much it. Everything's been completely stripped down. Get you guys set up over here. Yep, safety first. I don't know how this is gonna react. I don't know if it's gonna explode all over me. So just be safe. You go ahead, put some gloves on and some eye protection. Oh. Oh, there we go. Alright, well, didn't need that, but better safe than sorry. So drop this out below. Go ahead, grab this. Look at it. I left a little mark on it. So I think otherwise, I don't know. Definitely damaged it, taking it off, unfortunately. Which is fine. I'll just replace this. That's no big issue. But I have the bearing off. That's good. Now, so on to the other two. Okay, so for the counter shaft, we're going to be using the smaller one. And with this one, you got to be kind of careful. I don't know if you can tell, I'm over to the here, but right where the teeth are for the gear is where the bearing puller kind of just very, very lightly sits on both sides. So you want to kind of do your best to orient this in a way where it won't mess up these teeth. So it's got to be slightly loose, but just enough to still be able to engage on those teeth. So while I have this upside down the way I have it, I'm gonna go set it up and then try to flip it upside down and make sure it goes on as straight as possible without it touching those teeth to remove this bearing. And up here shouldn't be too bad because there's a lot wider surface here for it to go on. And it should be good to go from there. I think all of these bearings are gonna end up getting messed up, removing, so I'm probably gonna have to get new bearings for all these. The only one that didn't get damaged was that one. That's because it came off with the gear below it, so it's fine. It is what it is. I was anticipating them all coming out perfectly, But at least this way, I don't have to worry about them trying to get the bearings off. Alright. Oh, let's stop that right there. That's bending. Well, looks like that puller was not up for the task. Start bending. We'll need some supporting plates, some thick boys for added support. So hopefully this can still be salvaged. Now when you're ready, go ahead. Press down on it. Alright, definitely destroyed that bearing. And this is why you wear safety equipment. That bearing exploded. Whew, that's that. Lower that right down. So, countershaft is fine. Countershaft did not get damaged at all, but that bearing is I'd say it's pretty much toast. I'm actually broke while I'm doing that. And this is why it's important to make sure you use your safety equipment, because you don't want to have one of those shards come flying at you, either gouge into your hand or into your eye. As you can see there, chipped right there and right there. And on top of that, it also damaged this puller. You can see, got a bit of an arc on it now. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so I got the front, really? I think it's the front. Yeah, the front bearing right there ready to pull off with the puller. And I ended up putting a 15/16 socket. You probably also use 1 inch, but 15/16 is what I had in my toolbox. I put it between these sacrificial plates and the counter shaft. That way it's pressing on the counter shaft instead of the bearing. It has enough room to travel up so I can release. And hopefully this doesn't drift as I'm going down. There, something we gave. Get ready for it to drop. Just like that. Alright. Sweet. Bearings are off. And actually, I think this one survived. This one might be reusable. I don't see any significant damage to the bearing. There's no real markings. Oh, I see a slight mark right here from the puller. But otherwise, feels good. Still spins fine. So I would say this one's probably fine. This one's obviously toast because it broke. The other one's a maybe just because it got slightly warped. So this one, there's this one back here. probably be fine. This one I wouldn't recommend just because it got damaged there and there, it got bent. It could be usable, but I just ended up replacing it. This one for sure is broken. That one's toast. All right. Well, there you have it, guys. A complete teardown of a T56 Magnum XL. It is very, very involved. It's gonna take a lot of tools, and I mean a lot of tools, a lot of custom fabricated plates and bars and just general tools that you're gonna need. So unless you really want to do it, I probably wouldn't recommend it. This was a lot more involved than I was expecting, but I did learn a lot. I finally have this all completely torn down, ready to box up. I'm gonna go ahead and get the box set up and have everything perfectly, safely put away. I'm gonna take a lot of pictures of this orientation so I know how everything goes. Either way, I have a schematic of where everything goes anyways, but just so I can see how I had it all laid out, and especially keep the orientations of these bearings and stuff like that, so I can keep it where it came from. Other than that, it wasn't too bad, honestly. It was definitely time consuming. The biggest thing was fabricating tools to pull a lot of this stuff off, but now that I have all the tools made and experience, if I were to do this again, it'd probably only take me, I would say 5 to 6 hours, maybe a little bit more, now that I know exactly how to take everything apart. So overall, not too bad. Overall, aside from those 2 bearings that are pretty much shot, the only thing I really broke was this one, 5th ribbon gear, I think. And I made that mistake by not making a proper tool for pulling this out. But I do have the replacement already ready to go. So everything else looks pretty much fine. I mean, the blocker rings, I'm gonna be replacing them with the carbon ones anyways. And the fork pads over there, those are gonna be replaced with brass. And then as far as the cover, may or may not go with the billet front cover from Tick, the one with the bungs and sprayers. It all depends on what I am doing, but for now, definitely gonna just get this all packaged up, sent off to go get cryo treated. With that, thanks again, guys, for watching. Thank you guys for being with me with this teardown, and hopefully soon with the build. But for now, it's gonna be quite a bit of a cleanup now. So I'll catch you guys on the next one.